Coming to you from sunny California and the Great White North. Get ready. We are breaking down the obstacles on the Armchair Ninja Podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Armchair Ninja Podcast. It is Friday, October 13th, 2017. My name is Rich, and joining me once again this week is Bijan. How you making out?
I'm good for not sleeping in 2 days, man. I'm fighting through that.
Sleep is for the weak. What do you need
It
sleep
is.
for?
It's midterms, man. Just sleep definitely is for the weak because powering through. But that's life, y'all. And man, I mean, if there was ever a time to watch Sasuke, and keep me intrigued, I mean, this was it. This was a fun day, really fun special. But before that, dude, we got to talk about the awards last week. A lot of reaction to that.
Yeah, the awards were a lot of fun to record. I actually really enjoyed them. I'm glad everyone offered up their opinions on the who made the cut, who won the trophies, and yeah, it was a great time.
Wingnuts should have won. Just saying.
Yeah, I mean, really, my choices were not very good, apparently, compared to everybody else's. Mine were all over the place. I missed out on a lot of the picks.
Let's hear some of your off base picks. Let's see how out of touch you are, bruh.
Man, I got to tell you, the
Just
biggest
joking.
surprise for me was that so many people picked David Campbell for the comeback of the year. I really didn't see that coming. Oh, and
Who'd you go for?
I picked Lance Picas. I thought he had a great story that season. But actually, the bigger one, the one that totally floored me, was Flip Rodriguez winning the Invisible Ninja Award. I did not see that coming. I almost argued against him being in the category.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. You know, that was interesting because I shocked myself by voting for him. And I feel like I'm such a hypocrite because I complain all the time about Angelos and Nicholas Courage getting, shafted. But when I looked at everything in the overall picture of the story, it was quite egregious that such an entity as Flip Rodriguez wasn't shown on the show as much. I hate the fact that I didn't vote for Angelos because, I just went in there, already set to vote for him for that category, but I had to go with Flip. That one shocked myself.
That wasn't my two most shocking categories. What about you? Did any of them take you by surprise?
I guess the only surprise for me was Crank It Up. And I definitely see why it won and tied with Double Dipper, but I don't know, man. I really felt like Double Dipper and Wingnuts were the two standouts for me. I think it might have been a situation where a lot of the other new obstacles kind of, I guess, canceled each other out in many ways. I don't know how the votes were. I guess you're the only man in the know of that, man. But I don't know. I felt like Wingnuts would get more love, and I 100% agree with Double Dipper. I just didn't see Crank It Up getting that much votes.
Yeah, I made sure to put my votes in first since I had all the categories and I knew I'd be getting everyone else's results. So I didn't want that to skew my version. So I ended up picking Elevator Climb, and I was the only one that picked that.
I co-sign with that. I mean, I had a really hard time not choosing that. That was a great addition.
Yeah, and to be honest, that was one of the hardest categories to pick. I actually didn't even like cutting Ninjago roll, and the only reason we did that was because it just didn't have enough people trying it. It was great. It was a great year for obstacles. I just loved all of them. I would have no problem with any of those obstacles winning, and the fact that two of them won just made it a little easier, actually.
Yeah, it was a fantastic year for new obstacles. If you're in Japan, it is not a fantastic year for new obstacles, but we'll get into that later.
Yeah. So we're a little slow to actually get into the meat of this episode here. We're covering Sasuke 34. That is the 20th anniversary of Sasuke, of which I've only seen the first season, which I helped cover on the Final Stage podcast, and the last season I watched it as well. So full disclaimer, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'll do my best, but keep in mind, for those that are diehard Sasuke fans, I am a complete novice, fully acknowledged, and you'll hear me say a lot of stupid things probably along the way.
Yeah, I've seen all the Sasukes, but I'm in no way, shape, or form the type of guy that remembers everything, writes notes, or has all that detailed knowledge. But at least I can kind of have a breadth and understanding of the people that have run before and the history of Sasuke. With that said, I mean, we're going to make a million mistakes and you're all going to call us out for it. Yeah, my Twitter is going to be quite fun this week. With that said, also, we definitely plan on covering Kunoichi, the last Kunoichi that happened. Now that we're in the off season, look forward to that coming up. Also, different ninja competitions regionally. You know, we have the Wolfpack Ninja Tour, we have National Ninja League. We're going to be getting into all of that in the off season, guys. So don't go anywhere. We're going to have some fun this entire time.
Yeah, there's no lack of things, and especially for those of you that missed out on Team Ninja Warrior previously, you're going to stick around, which, according to Cameron Aaron, one of our best friends of the podcast, Cameron told us that Ninja versus Ninja may be the new name for this season, which is the most terrible change I can imagine.
Yeah, it's pretty bad, but whatever works. Ninja versus Ninja, really?
Ninja versus Ninja.
That's so bad. I mean, Team Ninja Warrior just makes sense. I mean, get rid of College Madness or whatever the official name was for College Ninja Warrior. Just call that College Ninja Warrior, but like Ninja versus Ninja, there's too much going on with that.
So getting into the heart of the episode here, we have a very similar course. I have to say, we did cover it last year. So the course
similar, it's exactly the same, man.
I don't know. They added a couple of spikes on the the fish bones and
get out of here.
Slightly modified a couple of things.
I am not the type where I need the entire course modified, okay? But do something. It's not even to challenge the athletes on the show, but it's also for the cohesion of the viewer. I mean, I love Sasuke. I look forward to it genuinely year by year. And the athletes competing on it, don't get me wrong, are the most important portion of the show. But you need to have some switch ups, some transitions, some modifications. If it's the entire same stage, it just gets mundane, man. I found myself just wandering off into no land during stage 1 because it's just, I don't know. I've already seen this stuff last year, dude.
Yeah, I have to say, so as a disclaimer, for anyone that's never seen Sasuke before, and I know there's some of you that probably, like me, are late to the game, coming in as American Ninja Warrior fans, you should check it out. It's very cool, very fun to watch. It's a little confusing when you don't understand what the heck they're talking about. You can't understand any of the language. There's no subtitles. You're just kind of going along with the flow.
Those announcers are so cool, though. I mean, yeah, their energy's infectious.
The energy is great. I love a lot of things about it, and I'll kind of touch on those as we go through here. But I have to say, I've seen this course before, and I totally agree. Seeing virtually the exact same course 2 years in a row is a little disappointing.
Yeah. I mean, with that said, the course is fine. It's not like a joke of a course. It's a really good course. And the thing that Sasuke does so right is the timer is such a factor. And we'll get into it definitely in stage 2. But I really like how they time out the course. It's not a situation where you're just battling the obstacles. At the end of the day, it's almost a meta obstacle of completing the entire thing in the allotted time limit. And that's one thing American Ninja Warrior definitely can take from Sasuke.
One thing I wish they would take, and I know this seems minor to most people, and I feel like I'm probably the only one or one of the very few people that actually cares about this, but I love the numbering system. I think that is amazing. I think it's so cool that everyone gets a number and you know what order they run in because they're wearing like a little, I forget what the tags are called, but they've got the little sign on them that tells them what order they ran in. There's significance to certain numbers. I think that's a really neat thing, and I think that could add a lot to American Ninja Warrior if they would adopt that. I don't know why they didn't bring that over with everything else, but
I see both sides to it, honestly, because you get the whole Casey Catanzaro argument again of favorites and editing and stuff. But the one thing that I think they've taken over, or kind of as the American version of that, is the finishers badges. And in many ways, that's kind of a proclamation that you're just a step ahead. You are able to complete the finals courses. And over the past 2 years, guys, I don't know if you guys noticed, those finals courses are ridiculously tough. I mean, that is a really high-level badge of honor. So I kind of feel like that's taken over it, where when you see on stage 1 in American Ninja Warrior, when they have that finisher's badge, that means they came to play.
I'm not going to argue the point that the city finals are not difficult, because they are. They're extremely difficult. But I can't say that I've ever noticed a finisher's badge. Do you actually notice them?
I do, yeah, because they have, I don't know, they kind of wear it on their chest and stuff. It's pretty cool to see. With that said, I mean, it might just be a thing that I notice. I'm really curious. Do you guys notice it too?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Like, does anyone else actually pick those out? Because I don't see them at all. I had forgotten about them until you just mentioned them now.
Come on, man. They worked hard for that thing.
They did. I'm not trying to take anything away from them. That is amazing accomplishment. But at the same time, I don't notice the badges. I just don't. But yeah, so taking a look at this here, we're not going to go through run by run because it's just too much. There's too many runs. There's too many people that we can't pronounce their names, which doesn't help things any.
Come on, people need to know how ABCZ did, or Darvish, or
So-
whoever else.
So what happens basically, for those that aren't familiar, when they run the course, generally speaking, they run and it's similar to American Ninja Warrior in that respect. The weaker runners tend to run in the beginning. So we get into the 20s. There's kind of a long line of people failing at early obstacles. And we mentioned the course, but we didn't actually go through what there is. It'd be a lot of very familiar things for those that haven't seen the course before, who have never watched Sasuke. The quad steps are something that carried over very directly. Something called rolling hill. If you imagine a series of rolling hills going up and then down, which is a lot trickier than it sounds, because they, especially coming on the downhill, it's easy to get sliding down the whole thing. So they have to be very careful.
I would like to see, honestly, the rope swing that we have in American Ninja Warrior kind of transition to something like that. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I like the rolling hills, kind of neat, because it is something they have. Even the most elite of ninjas, and for those that aren't aware, Drew Dreschel and Jessie Graff both ran the course, and both of them very much took their time through rolling hill, because you have to. There's just no way around it.
Do not blame them.
Yeah. Then his TIE Fighter, which I don't know how they get away with calling it that, unless they have a Star Wars tie-in. It does look like a TIE Fighter. They prop themselves in between two walls, and it slides down on what do you call that, a zip line type thing.
Yeah, it's basically the spider jump had a baby with the rolling log, or not the rolling log. What is that? The log drop or something like that?
Log drop, yeah, or log grip.
Yeah, it's basically those.
Yeah, it's like the log
It's
grip.
actually really cool, though. I mean, out of all the obstacles on this course, that's the one that scares me. I was kind of like sizing this obstacle course up, and I'm like, I think I might be able to do this. Then TIE Fighter, I'm like, maybe not.
Fishbones is kind of cool. I like it. I know it's, because it's a repeat, it doesn't seem all that intimidating, but at the same time, it's difficult. It's like a spinning bunch of pads that they have to kind of work their way across. I don't know how to say this. It's like
it's a series of foot pegs that you got to hop across. However, there's almost like a spinning rotisserie with like spikes coming out of it above you that's trying to like whack you off of it.
There you go. Perfect. And then they have the double pendulum, which is basically the TikTok, if you're going to call it anything familiar. Then the tackle, which is something we never see anything similar to in AEW. It's 3 big weighted boxes that they have to push, almost like a football tackle where they have to push like a sled. That's the same kind of deal. Then it's a warped wall, which everybody knows about. A Tarzan rope, which is pretty basic, and a lumberjack climb. I don't know how to describe that. It's basically like if you turn an I-beam cross on its side, and you walk up the walk up it.
Exactly. You walk up an I-beam. It's all right. I mean, the course is it's decent, but the real key to this course is actually the time limit.
Yeah, so that is one thing that I have to say Sasuke gets pretty right, is the time limits are a crunch. There are some people that completed stage 1 without any problem, but I think that's because they've done it before. And stage 2 definitely has a more of a time crunch, which we'll talk about when we get to stage 2.
Yeah.
So taking a look, the first 20-some people that take the course are just falling on random obstacles throughout. A lot of them seem to be getting tripped up on the trampoline going into the TikTok double pendulum. Not much to say about those guys. Is there anybody that stood out to you from the very beginning? Unless you want to talk about the Cyber Japan dancers that took the course first.
Oh, lordy.
Best not to say anything, maybe. Maybe we'll avoid that topic.
I'll just say this. I'm a fan.
So, moving on, the first person that really stood out to me, the first one that I thought, oh, this guy's pretty talented, was the scuba diver who was runner number 34. Was looking pretty good, and I was very happy to see that, because as he took the course, I thought, oh, this guy looks solid, and I actually, in a way, kind of called it, because he was the first one to complete the whole thing. He had 9 seconds left. He made a total miss on his first attempt at the wall, so which made me think, like, oh, maybe he's not going to, but he did. He managed to beat the whole course. Yeah, the first of many.
Cool. I care about the peeps like ABCZ, this guy that they featured relentlessly on the show, in Darvish, the guy with the face paint. If anybody has seen Sasuke, he's kind of dressed like, imagine if the Japanese version of the It Clown. I don't know if that's what he's going for, but that's kind of what he's doing.
Yeah.
That guy's gonna haunt me for my dreams for the next week. And yeah, they were featured all over the show. Good on them though, because even though they're kind of like, characters, they actually are legit athletes. And I don't think they get enough love in the, online community, but, they're decent.
Yeah. I got to skip it. So one thing that stood out to me in this whole thing was, and again, I don't know what I'm talking about, so if I may mangle this completely, but I'm pretty sure around runner number 47 through 49, it was Mr. Sasuke, I believe, with
Mr. Sasuke.
And he had like 3 people that were running. It seemed like he wasn't running himself.
Dude, he had a whole entourage. There was like 10 young men with him. I'm like, wow. This is his calling now. He's kind of like the Japanese version of Sam San. I don't even know if that's fair. Maybe Sam's the American version of Mr. Sasuke, but he has fully embraced his role as a mentor.
Yeah, but it was funny because they're all dressed in black, and they have these outfits that, I don't know, and they're all so serious. It looked like Cobra Kai from Karate Kid. It was so over the top. And he's yelling at the guy. So number 47 takes the course, and he's screaming at him the whole way through. And I think he's encouraging him. I don't mean to take away from that, but he's yelling at him. He looks so intense. And I'm like, is this guy yelling sweep the leg? It just feels like such a crazy.
Well, he's probably really passionate and into it, so.
Well, we see that, right? So of the 3, 2 of them actually make it through. And after the third one, so 47, 48, and 49 run through.
3 that they show. There was 10 dudes.
Well, there's probably more, but those are the 3 that they showed for sure. And he just broke down. He was kneeling down, crying, just sobbing. And they we think A&W is bad for getting in their face. They put the camera I think it practically hit his nose. They brought it right into his face when he was so emotional over that.
Yeah, man, I thought he turned into Asa. Where is Asa? Nobody cries like Asa on this show. With that said, Mr. Sasuke, he's very passionate. He's kind of known as the most diehard, ninja warrior there is in terms of Sasuke. And there's a reason he's called Mr. Sasuke. He was pegged originally as the one guy that would most likely complete the entire course. He never was able to, but that passion's always been there.
So for those of you that are diehard Sasuke fans, can you please let me know? I'm very curious. Why was he so emotional? Was it because of that one particular runner, or was it because 2 of those 3, they were having such success overall? It was a little confusing. Like I said, there was no subtitles. Very much trying to figure this all out from a very novice perspective. All right, so skipping ahead a bit here, like I said, I am only familiar with a few competitors, so I was definitely watching for them. And as Bijan said, Asa was one of the guys I was looking for. I was very excited to see him again, and we didn't get to see that. I don't know why, unfortunately.
Where's the tears?
I like him. He's a really good competitor, and he's so passionate. He's one of my favorites. But one of my other favorites, we'll jump ahead to, is Kong. To Kong Kenji, I believe. And he's just night and day. So he was the 83rd competitor to take the course, and he was like night and day from the previous competitor. He's just like so strong. He stood way out from everybody. And then he missed the wall, which totally confused me because I thought for a second maybe he's not going to get through, but he did get it the second time, beat it with lots of time left, and he just like, his celebrations are great. He's just like screaming. Everybody's laughing and carrying on the sidelines as he's just like losing it at the top.
Yeah, Kong's always fun. He kind of had a David Campbell stump where like stage 1 was kind of getting him, but you know, he did well. He looked fully focused, and he was doing a great job. So I'm really happy to see Kong back. This guy is really awesome. And if you guys watch, I guess the best way to describe him is he's just like a little tiny dude that's like a ball of energy, and he's just flying through the course. He gives it his all. This guy never stops.
Yeah, and if you've watched the USA versus Japan, he's been on there a couple of times, so it kind of makes him memorable for me, which is also why I'm familiar with like Asa and a couple other ones, because I've seen them. They run USA versus World and USA versus Japan.
Dude, I really hope Japan's like back for USA versus the World. I understand why they weren't there last season, but there's so many personalities and like top level athletes from Japan. They just need to get the right competitors, and I think Japan will do perfectly fine.
Yeah, it's worth bringing them back. I mean, it's really heartbreaking to see them, you know, fall short each year, but it's just going to make it so much more triumphant when they actually do it.
They bring the wrong people, man.
Do you think that's just they don't have the right people?
I love the old Ninja Warrior All-Stars and everything, but they're not the guys to be competing against the top athletes from America and Europe. Like, the people from American and Europe's teams, they're world-class athletes. A lot of the people from Sasuke, they're not, like, world championship rock climbers or blah, blah, blah. But you're telling me that, like, Yuji Urashihara and Yusuke Morimoto and Asa and people like that can't compete with the top athletes in America? Get out of here, y'all. Like, they can hold their own. You just have to have the right team.
All right. So next to take the course was the one probably, I mean, as much as I love watching Drew run the course and was looking forward to seeing him take it on again, everybody wanted to see Jessie Graff take this course on, yeah. And that's who we get to see in slot 87. If for those that haven't seen it,
hang on, y'all have to see this. Like, stop the podcast right now.
Right.
Watch this. Rich, I know you're going to have the links in the show notes. This is something you have to watch. Even before we cover it, just watch this run. It's amazing.
It's Jeff Britton season 7 level of awesome. Like, she totally proved that she is among the top competitors in this sport. So very cool to watch. And I was so glad I didn't get it spoiled for me. I was able to watch it on Facebook stage by stage as she tore through the course. And we're not going to spoil it right now, I guess. Well, but she does very, very well. In stage 1, she dominates. Went through the whole thing without any issue. She had 14 seconds left on the clock. And you can watch it on Facebook with subtitles. Thanks to TBS for putting that out. It was very nice of them to put both Drew's and Jessie's runs out there for her North American fans and his.
Mm-hmm. Now, in Sasuke, there has been a woman that's completed stage 1 before, but it's so rare, and I appreciate the fact that there was such reverence for this run. The competitors and everybody involved with the show really gave her the respect she deserved for doing this historic run. And I don't know, it was really cool to see just the camaraderie of people that it's one thing to like be familiar with the competitor, right? But this is her first time on the show. She's a foreigner. I could see a lot of people just giving her like side eyes. People were ecstatic for her. Right. People were so like energetic and happy and enthusiastic about her run. And I really appreciated that. It made for such an amazing event and situation, and definitely check it out with the subtitles and the announcing. I mean, it was just really cool. Just fantastic stuff. Huge congratulations to Jessie Graff. And, oh, I can't wait to see her on stage, too. We'll talk about it.
I half expect you to say, and that was our athletically profound run of the night. I just get so used to covering the season now.
Not yet, y'all.
But it's worth noting also that Jessie ran the men's course, which normally, unlike the American counterpart...
Oh, yeah. What am I talking? There's Kunoichi. Could you imagine her on... Oh, my...
No, it's not just
Man.
Kunoichi. So even Sasuke, like the first competitor to run the course was Karen, one of the Cyber Japan dancers. They actually scaled the course back for the females.
You're joking.
No, I'm not kidding at all.
I do not like that at all.
No, that's been a thing for a long time.
What did they do? Do you know?
I don't know what they did for this specific one, but I think, for example, I think the tackle are lighter, if I'm not mistaken.
I mean, I guess that's okay.
Yeah, so it's.
I don't like it, but I understand the argument if you want to make the argument about it.
But Jessie ran as 87, which is very high, like very high up there. And she ran the exact same course as the men.
Interesting. That's cool. I like that just because I don't want to ever have Jessie Graff having an asterisk. Like, oh, she completed the course, but modifications. It's like, it's Jessie Graff. Y'all know she can do this.
So you already mentioned before Darvish Kenji, who ran in slot 89, who fell in the final climb last year, which was actually very gut-wrenching. Even as somebody who was not emotionally attached to him for any particular reason, watching someone fall at the top of the final climb, the lumberjack climb, that was rough. That was really rough last year. I was so happy to see they actually beat stage 1 this year.
It was kind of shades of Jessie Graff this past season, where it's like you already are there knowing that they've got the buzzer already on lock, and out of nowhere some freak accident happens and they fall into the water. It's kind of like that. So I'm really happy he got his redemption.
Yeah, and then after him I was so happy. I was waiting for it. I couldn't remember the name of the competitor, but last year it was Mori. I believe I'm going to mangle this name horribly. Mori Wataru, whose wife is pregnant. Such a nice seeming guy. Such a sweet wife. I absolutely adore them. I was so excited to see her back.
Shame! 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 Shame!
She's got
Why?
a very high-pitched voice. It's very reminiscent, and I don't mean this in an insulting way because I love her. I think she's great. It kind of sounds like Pikachu, to be honest. It has a very...
She is the Pikachu. Her voice is devil incarnate. Why is she back? This is the worst. She is off. Everything about this couple is awful. I'm sure they're nice people. I don't care. Never should they grace a television screen. If it is, put them on mute. Somebody put something like whatever in their mouth. Just do not let her make noise. Oh my God. It is the worst. The absolute worst. I could not tell y'all how mortified I was when I saw them. I screamed so loud. I woke up the entire freaking neighborhood, y'all. I lost it. But then, I'm not religious, but there is a God. Because this guy damn near fell into the water immediately. And I've never been so happy in my life. Y'all don't even know. I was so happy. All my prayers were answered. Oh, and she's all crying and everything. I'm sorry. I'm supposed to feel bad for her and everything. No, I was so happy. Cry more. Oh, suffer. Yes. Just
I was
completely just be gone with you forever and ever and ever. Shame. Bye-bye. Deuces. Bye, Felicia.
I was very disappointed. He fell under the fourth quad step. He just made a misstep. He just missed it on the front side of it and fell underneath of it. And he was smiling. He actually seemed like he was okay with like, oh God, what did I just do? Kind of like.
Everybody was smiling because they gone.
But she was very, very hurt by the whole thing and was just collapsed at the start line. I felt bad for her. He obviously did too, because when he came out, he was not smiling anymore. He kind of went over to console her. Shame on you, Bijan. Shame on you for getting down to this very sweet couple that is one of my favorites to see run the course, and I can't wait to see them again. I will be watching Sasuke specifically to see them again next year.
Their tears give me life. And you know what, y'all? You all can suffer with me. Rich, roll that clip of them.
いや らもう実力はあるのは分かってるから。
Just the absolute worst.
How sweet is that? How much of a monster do you have to be to rant about such a sweet lady trying to cheer on her husband? Awful.
Nails on the chalkboard.
So next up, we actually have one of the All-Stars. There's only 2 All-Stars. Thank you very much, Will, from the former Final Stage podcast, for giving me a few notes for this episode. If for those that are A&W fans, if you've noticed where Mike Bernardo and Ryan Stratus will give each other a slap in the back, that comes from Sasuke, including right here, the back slap from Nagano to Takeda Toshihiro, who beat the whole course without issue. There's not really much to say about the run, but it was worth noting that he took the course and is continuing on to stage 2.
And yeah, it's just great to see Takeda doing well. You could see that he's like all the other old school Ninja Warrior All-Stars are living vicariously through him. Nagano, he's officially retired, which shocked me because I thought they were just it was gonna go in and out of retirement forever, right? But it's nice to see that Nagano has taken a step back and is still supporting his closest friends, though. And yeah, I'm cool with it.
Yeah, and right after him, we had the other All-Star, Yamamoto Shingo.
Shingo Yamamoto.
Oh, yeah, got it backwards.
This is the guy with the backwards... This is the guy with the backwards trucker cap. He's competed in every single Sasuke, and he's a hallmark. He hasn't done very well in the past few seasons, but this guy is a legend. He's basically, what is there, only like 6 people that have ever competed on every single season of American Ninja Warrior. This guy's competed on every single season, all 34 seasons of Sasuke. This guy is dope.
I didn't realize that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, he missed the bar.
Could be wrong. Maybe he missed one, but I'm pretty sure he's completed every single one.
He's competed in a lot of them, if not all of them. Okay, even if it was nearly all of them, that's a lot. So yeah, he missed the bar on the double pendulum, unfortunately. So it looks like he got it with just like one hand and fell. He was laughing afterwards. He has a good spirit, so good for him. Glad to see he's still competing after all this time.
Yeah, but now we got to get into the runs that really made an impact. I mean, when we get to the top 90, like 90 and up, guys, like these are the all-stars, the new all-stars of Sasuke, and they're always people you got to look out for.
Yeah, so they montaged a bunch of them here at the end, including Drew, montage of finishers at this point. And then we had the 3 final ones, 98, 99, and 100. 98 being Tomo, who is Tomohiro Kawaguchi, who beat it without really much issue. Not much to say about him running the course. Just very, very solid. And then Yuji Urishihara.
Yuji! All right, y'all. Yuji Urishihara. This is the dude. He is a 2-time total victor. This guy is amazing. He's an all-around legend. This guy is dope. And I'm so happy to see him back in top form. I mean, he did great. And right after that, we got the last person to complete the entire thing of Sasuke, Yusuke Morimoto. And oh boy, I am so excited. This is a guy I always compare to, like when it comes to Josh Levin and all these guys that grew up with Ninja Warrior and have been training all their lives and are just like next level good and young. That's this guy, Yusuke Morimoto. And I was just so happy to see the 2 top Sasuke competitors back on the show. I mean, it's been a while since we've seen both of them compete, and I was so ecstatic for it.
This was my first chance to see him. Like, I don't know if you realize that or not, but because he wasn't,
I didn't. Wow.
Because he wasn't on last season, right? So I hadn't seen him before, so I was really looking forward to this. Like, what?
Yusuke was on the USA versus the World, though.
Was he?
Wasn't he? Pretty sure he was. He was the guy that completed. He was the first guy to complete stage 3 ever in that whole thing.
Oh wow! I actually got him mixed up with Yuji because I thought that was Yuji that had done that. Well, what do I know? Apparently, I've seen him before, but this is my first time seeing him run in Sasuke. So confusing. So I have to say, I was a little underimpressed with stage 1. I will vindicate this later, but I got to say, stage 1, I was like, he had 9 seconds left. I mean, he was fine. He did it at a measured pace. He didn't look like he was struggling, but he was, there's people that had like 20, 30 seconds left. I was like, okay, all right, I'll keep an eye out. I can see what I want to see what the big deal with this guy. Let's see him on stage 3. Hopefully he'll get there.
Morimoto is basically Josh 11. He takes his time, but if there's anybody that's going to complete stage 3 from Japan, it's him.
So we had 24 finishers moving on, and which is pretty high. That's a pretty big number. Moving on to stage 2.
It's solid.
Yeah, it's a good number. It's a lot to try and see how far they can get.
It's no 40.
It isn't 40, but 40 is way too much. So for stage 2, they had the ring slider, which, if I'm going to describe it, it's like a pole. You have a pole in each hand with a ring on the top, and you had to move it down like a clothesline and move it over an obstacle in the middle. Kind of a strange little obstacle. I like it, though. It's pretty cool. Then the up-down salmon ladder, which isn't what they call it, but that's what I'm calling it, where you go up one side, then down the other. The spider walk. Imagine the jumping spider without the jump. The spider drop, which is basically like trying to move down within the spider jump, or the jumping spider.
That's no real obstacle. Come on now.
It barely qualifies as an obstacle, but it's something. And then the backstream, which I think is phenomenal, and I think everybody that watches Sasuke is sick of it, but I still think it's very cool to have a swimming obstacle in the middle of the whole thing.
With jet propellers like going against you with the current, man, I like that obstacle.
It's very cool.
I could see how competitors would hate it to death, but I actually really like that thing.
Yeah, it's so visually dynamic. It's such a weird change of pace in the middle of the course. They drop some goggles on and have to swim against the current with a very pressing time limit, which we had to definitely mention. Before hitting a reverse conveyor, imagine like a conveyor belt running against you at super high speed, and you have to crawl along it, and into the wall lift, which, if you remember previous seasons of ANW, you would have seen.
Yeah. So also, though, it's that conveyor belt. It's kind of 1-2 punch with the jet steamer and the conveyor belt, because even though it sounds simplistic, the slipper, like, you're completely wet and you have to crawl with your feet and your entire body, like your knees and your arms and everything, and doing an army crawl, and you just see this entire time competitors slipping and sliding, falling all over the place. I mean, that was really the ninja killer in this entire course, and that was really surprising for me. I don't know, I didn't see that coming, but that took out so many competitors, and I really like that 1-2 punch.
Well, to me, it's because you combine that with a very strict time limit. I think if they had some time to catch their breath, it wouldn't be so bad, but they have no time. Like, it doesn't matter how fast you're going through the course. You got to keep moving. So we got to
talk about that. Yeah, like, what was it, 90 seconds for this entire course, and, I mean, people were barely getting through this course. But I like that, y'all. Like, the cool thing about Sasuke is the time limits matter. The one egregious point about ANW this year was that there was a 4-minute time limit. Time just wasn't of a pressing issue. But here, you always have to keep moving. There was not a chance for any of these competitors to take a moment break. I mean, they had to go completely all out. And I really appreciated that, because every time somebody was actually able to complete this course, they collapsed in complete exhaustion, and that's when you know they did the course right.
Yeah, I actually have no problem with either one. I don't have an issue with it having a strict time limit, and I don't have a problem with it not, as long as the obstacles are sufficiently difficult, which obviously Wingnut Alley was. It's definitely hard enough to warrant some extra rest. So as long as it's balanced, and I feel like both were, really, when it comes down to it. So looking through the runs, one of the first ones that I noted actually was in one of the montages, one of the fast forwards, Kong, who is one of my favorite competitors to watch, ended up going out of the conveyor, unfortunately. Like as Bijan said, there were a lot of people that struggled with it. I don't know what they did differently this year because I feel like last year wasn't even an obstacle. Last year, I believe just about everybody that hit stage 2 completed. It was a lower number, but they all just killed stage 2.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It might have been the time limit of they just didn't get a break and they were all exhausted, or that conveyor belt might have been faster. I mean, that thing was moving. It was not a slow conveyor belt. It kind of reminds me of Ultimate Beastmaster, if you remember, Rich. Like, they have an obstacle where it just shoots you out on this really fast conveyor belt.
Oh, right,
and
yeah.
this thing was moving against these people where they were kicking and crawling for all their, like, might to get further and further, like, beyond this conveyor belt. So it might have just been that. Maybe they made it faster.
Maybe. We have nothing to back that up, but that's total speculation, and we're going to call it a fact. It was definitely moving much faster than last year.
100% fact, yep.
Yep. Besides that, I mean, really the first one beyond him was Jessie, of course, who we were looking forward to.
So we got to talk about that. Did you notice, I didn't notice this in the first stage, but I definitely noticed in the second, when she comes out, they start playing the Wonder Woman theme song.
Oh, I didn't notice that, no.
Yeah, like watch it again. Like she comes up and all of a sudden, da 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 da. And I'm just like, oh, I know that song. And then they do this really cool montage about Jessie Graff. The one thing that I really appreciate is they hyped her up. She was not just a competitor. Like she was in many ways the star of this entire season, right, Rich? Like she was the one that they focused on, and she deserved it. She made history, and I don't know. They definitely made it clear, like, she's a star. She works in Hollywood. She's in all the top movies as a stunt woman, on the Emmys, all this stuff. I mean, they highlighted her more than A&W highlights her.
Almost, yeah.
And it was cool stuff.
Yeah, I liked the segments that they picked. Like I said, they showed the Emmys. They showed her on the red carpet, things like that. It really felt... And I don't know if that's because I don't watch like Japanese television a lot or anything like that. But it really felt like a video game. Like, do you feel like she was like almost a character in a video game the way it was starting with this whole crazy montage?
I think that's just how Japanese culture is. You know, it's more, I mean, look at Darvish and everybody else. I mean, everybody's got a kind of a theme to them. And in many ways, Jessie Graff in the narrative, when you look at the subtitles, she's a superhero woman that just does things that they can't believe. The whole time they're like, who is this woman? Oh my God, she's she's amazing. Like, where did she come from? All this stuff. And
that we do that too, though.
I think it's a relativity thing where, you know, a lot of these people might be seeing her for the first time. I'm sure most people from Sasuke know Jessie Graff, who Jessie Graff is. But there might be a few people that this is the first time they're seeing her, and they have to, you know, introduce her like she's completely new to the show. So it's something like that, you know?
Yeah, I have to say, stage 2 was no joke because it took the wind right out of her sails because she completed it, which was freaking phenomenal to watch. But she just completed it, and she couldn't even stand at the end of it. As she, in her own words, she was too tired to stand. She just collapsed. It was absolutely exhausting.
Yeah, so we actually have to talk about the run itself. I mean, she was doing the salmon ladder. She did this jet stream. Like, she beast moded this jet stream. She swam through this tank against the current better than anybody in the entire season. That she had a big, her biggest slip up, and it was really scary. Her time on that conveyor belt, she struggled through that thing. She was working against that current or that conveyor belt. So I'm really happy she was actually able to get through that. And we have to talk about this achievement. She is the first woman in the history of Sasuke or any version of Ninja Warrior. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm not. First woman ever to complete stage 2. And what an achievement that was. Everybody was so happy. They had reactions from every single inch of this crowd, every competitor. They highlighted everybody's reaction to her hitting that buzzer. It was amazing. She was so beside herself shocked. She was so ecstatic. As Rich alluded to, she was on the ground breathing so hard forever because she was so exhausted. But it was a moment where she's smiling and everybody is just so happy for her. It was just an amazing, amazing event. And I implore everybody to go out and watch this, especially with subtitles. The announcers really do her justice in her accomplishments. It was just amazing. And I don't even know what to say. It was really cool to see. This is something that will be highlighted for, I guess, really the rest of history when it comes to this sport. I mean, this is the first woman to ever complete Stage 2. It was not an easy Stage 2. And, of course, it's got to be Jessie Graff doing it. I am so incredibly happy for her and all women in Ninja Warrior. They were talking throughout this entire run and the next run how they no longer have that distinction in Sasuke between the genders of male and female, and that she's hopefully going to inspire more Japanese women to compete in Sasuke and break down those walls and those barriers. And I really can see her, Jessie Graff, doing for the women in Sasuke what Casey Catanzaro and many others, and Jessie Graff and many others did in American Ninja Warrior.
Let's hope. I hadn't really thought of that. That's a very good point, because so many of them hadn't seen Casey's run, that would make a lot of sense. And Jessie is just unbelievable. And what's funny is that, as you said, Stage 2, the only possible argument against her, that being the first time that that a woman's completed Stage 2, would be her own run in Stage 2 last year in the USA versus the World, which wasn't during the regular competition. So the only person that could possibly compete with that would be herself. So, I mean, really, you got to give it to her. So we got to take a second here to talk about Darvish Kenji, who, like, as you said, had the face paint. If you've seen him, you would definitely know who we're talking about. The white face paint, very distinct look. He had a close call on the dismount of the Salmon ladder. He ended up timing out on the conveyor and just laid there panting. And I gotta give a shout out to Sasuke. They do silence that A&W will never do. Like, A&W has constant cheering. They'll just, overlay it at every point of the course. But a lot of times when you watch A&W in person and Sasuke, by the looks of it, you're quiet. You're waiting. You don't want to break the concentration of the person running the course. And they just let it hang there. And when he's sitting there panting, and all you can just see the exhaustion on his face. I love that they do that. They just have such an atmosphere by not having the crowd cheering at all moments. I think A&W could take a lesson from that.
Yeah, that's a good point. And it many ways heightened the stage in itself and everybody that's competed in it. It showed just how exhausted this guy was, and I was really worried. I mean, it really looked like he was in bad shape. The level of exhaustion he had was just, I don't know, indescribable. He was so tired. I thought he was going to pass out. And when he even got like the air back, you could see the pain in his face. I mean, this guy was hurting. And I don't know, just a minute and a half on Stage 2 in Sasuke, it can really take a lot out of a person. And it just shows the level of competitors and the level of competition this is.
But unfortunately, that did mean that he was out on the conveyor, the reverse conveyor. But very, very compelling run. I will definitely remember that for a while. Before moving on to Takada, who ended up getting hung up on the salmon ladder in a way I've never seen before. I've never seen someone go crooked 2 rungs and still be hanging there. Have you ever, is it just me, or is that the first time we've seen that?
I mean, it's the first time I can think of it. I'm sure it's happened before, but I don't remember it. It's cool that he was able to kind of try to adjust and everything, but I don't know, man. That's going to wear you out completely.
Yeah, he did manage to get one of them. He did manage to get the top part down by 1 rung to almost straighten out, but he just couldn't. It took a lot of effort to try to do that, and he ended up going out on the salmon ladder eventually. But it was definitely worth noting, because the 2 rung separation and to be hanging there at that angle was very, very strange.
Mm-hmm. But let's get into it. Yuji!
All right, so let's move on to Yuji Urashihara, number 99. It showed an intense training that he had for the swimming portion. which is normally a warning sign that something's coming, because I noticed that a couple times in this episode. Is like, if they show you training on the salmon ladder, that kind of tells me where you're going out. But I was like, well, he's probably not going to fall swimming. So, I mean, at least there's that.
He overexhausted himself before, I think 2 seasons ago, against the jet stream. That's why they highlighted that.
Gotcha. He was running out of time by the conveyor, so it still wasn't looking very good, where he did end up timing out, unfortunately. He just looked absolutely exhausted.
Yeah, Yuji's definitely been slowing down in the past few years. I mean, I think it's one of those things where it's like, he's won twice. He has nothing really to prove anymore. But I'm just so excited to see him. And as you guys can see, he's still high level. That conveyor belt, I mean, it was so hard. I was screaming at the top of my lungs because this guy was so close. He literally got to the very end of the conveyor belt, had his hand on the pad, but then the conveyor belt just ripped him away all the way back to the very beginning of the conveyor belt. And that's when I knew it was just done. And he was actually able to fight his way all the way back, even with the time running out, to the end of the conveyor belt and onto the pad. But it was just too little too late. It's one of those things where, once again, the timer gets another top-level competitor, and that's a sign of a really good course. Sucks that Yuji, I don't get to see him on stage 3, but I really, really hope I get to see him in the upcoming seasons. Yuji!
So the last competitor to take stage 2 was Yusuke Morimoto, who looked solid. He had a good time. Really not a whole lot to say about this run. He just did a really good job.
He's almost kind of like a rock climber. I don't know if he has a rock climbing background, but I wouldn't be shocked if he does. He does a lot of upper body obstacles very, very well. Amazing grip strength, but more importantly than anything else, this guy has trained relentlessly on obstacles. This guy knows the obstacles in and out, and it shows. So, yeah, great stuff. I think if the next person that we see complete Sasuke is going to be Yusuke Morimoto doing it for the second time. I wholeheartly believe that.
So that meant that there were 9 finishers for stage 2. In stage 3, we had a very similar course. I'm telling you, this thing was identical to what we saw
It's
before.
the same thing, y'all. Same thing.
Yeah. So if you have seen it before, it's very, very familiar. If you haven't, we have the drum hopper, which is something they really should include in ANW. We've got imagine, they call it a drum hopper for a reason. Imagine a bunch of bongo drums kind of placed in like a stepping pattern up, and you have to keep your arms straight and kind of hop your way up from one to the next.
It's cool because
your lower body.
Yeah, it's cool because it's a very awkward obstacle that uses muscle groups that you traditionally don't use. A lot of core, a lot of, I don't even know, like tricep maybe? I'm not sure. What I do know is I will be in a lot of pain if I ever try an obstacle like that.
That's all I can picture. I mean, I'm definitely not a fitness guy, but I do remember, doing bar dips and things like that. I'm like, that must kill the triceps. It's got to be what is really hurting in there. So after that, we had the flying bar, which we're all familiar with. The sidewinder. How do you describe the sidewinder? Imagine dropping some heavy bags from the ceiling with some strips of like cliffhanger ledges along the sides of them. I don't know how else to describe it. It's a very weird obstacle. But
yeah, and some
cool.
of them dip when you land onto them. It's neat, and the cool thing about it is there's a transition between the flying bar and the sidewinder. Like there's no brake pad in between, so you have to hop right from the bar onto the sidewinder and then jump from the pad to the next pads. It's pretty neat. I like it. And
then from there, they go on to the ultra crazy cliffhanger, with one of the cliffhangers actually moving up and down on a motorized rig. Man, it's not this thing. I don't know how anybody's ever going to complete this. It's just so crazy, man. Like, this cliffhanger, it goes along a far along side, like for a few feet, and then you got to jump backwards, do the 180. But unlike in American Ninja Warrior, where there's like a foot pad when you jump 180, there's no foot pad, so you just do a 180 swing. Then you got to like do a curve like around a wall or something like that. Then do another 180 jump, but to a conveyor belt
cliffhanger that moves up and down. If that's not crazy enough, after you do the conveyor belt cliffhanger that goes up and down, you gotta transition all the way over to, I already forget the name of it. What's it called, Rich?
It's the vertical limit.
Vertical limit. Y'all want to know about pain? Why don't you describe vertical limit for you then?
Imagine trying to imagine the wall didn't have any ledges and you're just gonna grab it from the bottom. That's basically what vertical limit is. You have to have like the craziest grip strength imaginable, holding your entire body weight just by your grip strength along a very long stretch of wall.
It's like a centimeter of an indentation. That's it. Imagine like a bunch of book spines or books just hanging from the ceiling and just holding from like the bottom of the books your entire body up. I mean, it is insane. You do all of that cliffhanger stuff and then you go into the vertical limit. And don't correct me if I'm wrong, Rich, but like after the vertical limit, there's more like like you're still holding yourself up for like two other things. Like it's not just over after that.
No, there's something else called I think it's a pipe slider after that, before it's finished. I think there's one more obstacle after vertical limit.
Like, they're insane.
But I don't know what it looks like. I can't even imagine what it looks like.
All I know is TBS never, ever wants to pay anybody ever again for winning the show. Because I don't know how that's possible. But,
there's no payout for Sasuke, though, is there? I don't think there's any payout.
Pretty sure there's a payout.
They don't do the $1 million payout in Sasuke.
It's not $1 million, but I'm pretty sure there's a payout.
All right, whatever. They don't want a champion again. Basically, they're just tired of having people actually complete the course.
Yeah, I don't know. Crazy. that obstacle is crazy. What I do know though is the instant somebody does complete that crazy cliffhanger, that is going to be history. That's going to be a crazy moment.
Yeah, because it seems impossible. It really seems almost completely impossible. So let's see how these 9 finishers actually did taking on the course. So the first person to take stage 3 was actually someone that's had actually some features in the previous stages we haven't mentioned yet. Number 45, Hyoki Masashi, who has the most adorable family, a couple of daughters. Seems like very much in the spirit, my understanding of the spirit anyway, of the original Sasuke. Very much the average Joe taking on the course. Did very, very well. He made it over to the first cliffhanger transition before falling. I really like this guy. I thought he was very compelling.
Yeah, he's cool.
Not a whole lot to say about him, to be honest, but I really did like watching him take on the courses. I'm glad they featured him. I thought it was a good
introduction to the entire course. I found that Mr. Ninja Warrior's protege was just a dude. I feel like we just need to. I feel like we'll get more familiar with a lot of the newer ninjas in like later seasons. But I got to give a special shout out to them highlighting super close Mr. Sasuke with some hearty man tears crying. And yeah, I don't know. They got real close in that shot.
Yeah, so that was on because his protege, number 49, the Obata Satoshi, ended up going out on the Sidewinder, unfortunately. As did the Sasuke Sensei. They say that a lot. It's not the name that we have here. Suzuki Yusuke, I believe it is. Anyway, number 84 went on the Sidewinder as well. So, but let's move on because we have gone very, very long this episode, of course. And let's get to Jessie Graff because, to be honest, that's where we are more familiar. We're more comfortable covering Jessie's runs because we've done it so many times.
And this is what y'all are here for anyways. So let's cover Jessie. I mean, this was... Well, why don't you go first before I lose my mind? You go ahead.
Right. So I have to mention, so she's going through, looking very solid, not too surprising to see her continuing her amazing run. But I have to mention, man, she gets on the Sidewinders and... Oh God, I really hope everyone's taking a chance to watch it before listening to us because I don't know if I can do this justice. Imagine the punching bags hanging down these Sidewinders and she locks onto it and then locks her feet together on the other side and gives her arms a rest, like she's sitting on these things. It's supposed to be, imagine any other obstacle in stage 3 just being completely nullified by a competitor coming up with a way to take a full rest in just the most imaginative, cool way. I just loved it. I thought it was so ingenious. She makes her way through the sidewinders at a kind of a leisurely pace as she managed to come up with a way to do it in her style, in her own way. I just think it was great. But she did move on to the cliffhanger and went out in the first transition, which is where virtually everybody, there's only one exception, virtually everybody went out there or sooner. She just proved that she is a world class, no longer just one of the best ninjas, but one of the best in the world. Jessie is just amazing. We can't say enough about her. Great ninja, great competitor, great person overall, and so happy to see her get that recognition on the world stage.
Yeah, this was a world-class run, but not only that, a historic run. This is the first time we've ever seen a woman compete on Stage 3, and who else better to have that than Jessie Graff? This is a run that genuinely will go down in history, something that people will always go back to and rewatch. It wasn't just something where a woman makes it to Stage 3 and does, decent for quote-unquote a woman or anything. She destroyed this course. She excelled in parts of this course that nobody else could even physically do. And I can't just say enough just how impressed I am with her. And I think this run will be not only shown all across Japan, but it's a run that in many ways will be studied for a long time by a lot of ninja warriors, thinking about different ways to, I guess, tackle a course with your own body type in mind. Like, no longer do you perceive women are inferior or whatever. There's these minute details that make you having a harder time. Rather than that, Jessie Graff goes on this course and uses her strengths, the things that she's good at, to do very well at this course. She uses her flexibility, her leg length, her comfort with her body, and her understanding with her body to really excel at this course. She always has a calmness and stays clear-minded. She always is focused on this. So, when we see her doing a completely new obstacle for her with, I forget the name of it, but the drum set obstacle, y'all. She stays focused the entire time and completely committed to the obstacle. Never falters 1 second. Flying bars, she's always there. She's always focused. There's a moment where the bars are kind of sliding back and forth. She takes her time to readjust the bars and then transitions. She always stays focused. But as Rich alluded to, everybody lost their mind, including me. We see her wrapping her legs around these punching bag things, resting her arms, such an ingenious way to get a leg up. It reminded me a lot of Joe Morosky on Stage 3 this past season, taking a rest. But this was even more so because she's not draining out her one arm and then the other arm. Her arms are completely independent from the obstacle. Really cool stuff. And it was such an amazing thing seeing her go fairly far into that cliffhanger. I mean, this was historic stuff, not only for her, not only for women, not only for Japan, but for the sport in general. 100%. This is one of the coolest things I've seen all year. Congratulations, Jessie Graff. You win Athletically Profound Run of the Night, and in many ways, probably of the year. Cool stuff.
Very, very cool stuff. After her, we get to see Drew take the course.
You barely, if you're watching this, you barely knew Drew ran, man. I mean, Drew got the Nicholas Coleridge thing where he was just digested this entire night. Really fast-forwarded all of his runs. Even in this, they started with him halfway into the course. I mean, I don't know what's going on with Drew, man, but they are throwing some shade at this dude. I'm glad at least he's still invited back to run. But, man, whatever's going on with Drew and Sasuke, I really hope they figure that out, because this guy he's a star not only in America, but he's definitely a star in a foundation in Sasuke.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a point of comparison, but I will say that there were a lot of finishers that got fast forwarded. Even in this segment right after Jessie, there was a montage of stage 3 fails in the cliffhanger. So,
but none of those guys were the top finisher, the person that got the furthest, like how many years in a row. I mean, Drew is at the level if Yuji and Yusuke, if Yuji and Rishihara and Yusuke Morimoto were at the very top because they were total victory runners, he's kind of like the guy right underneath the guy that everybody's expecting to be the next person to complete the entire course.
I mean, really, was it Tomo, I guess? Number 98 would be comparable, right? Because I don't believe he's gotten total victory, but he's considered one of the top competitors. Right on par with Drew.
That's fair.
He did get a little more love, I guess. He did get a little more. He get featured in stage 1 and 2. So, yeah, I don't know. What are you going to do? But Drew did get a little bit of love here. And I have to say, they did post it online in its entirety with the subtitles, so we do get to see everything.
Yeah, the good thing at least is they know their audience. If maybe it's a thing where he is an American and they don't want to dedicate that much time to 2 Americans on the show, and I understand that if that's their understanding. This was a season where they should be highlighting Jessie Graff, so at least they did the cool thing in not only showing Jessie Graff's run, but also Drew's run in subtitles and giving them their audience in America, people that might be more interested in watching those 2 particular ninjas run the course. So I'm happy they did that.
Yeah, and Drew did really well.
Shocker.
Well, yeah, real shocker. But he got onto the Ultra Cliffhanger, and he made the first transition, which most people were failing at, but he did fail in the second one. It looks like he went a little too early. And when you watch the main show, you don't get as much of a sense of it, but when you watch his online one on Facebook, you can hear him talking about how he thinks he went a little too early. He was kind of questioning Jessie, actually. You can hear them yelling to each other throughout the whole thing, which is pretty cool. And him asking her, like, did he go too early? He feels like he actually kind of maybe hit it a little off time.
When we look at a run later on of a competitor that completes the entire thing, he was a lot more focused on his timing management. So I definitely can see that happening with Drew. Drew ran, he saw the cliffhanger lowering, and he swung. But when he swung, he didn't look to make sure that the timing was correct. I'll have to go back and watch that. But the one competitor that was able to complete that transition, that competitor was a lot more focused on the placement of the lowering cliffhanger.
Yeah, I actually feel like, so the next to take the course was Tomo, and he was quickly through the cliffhanger, no real issues up till then. And he went out on that second transition as well. He looked like he had it right. He looked like he had the timing just about perfect, but couldn't hang on. And when you watch them trying to figure out when to take the course, because it's really like they've got to kind of go back and forth, and it looks like it'd be really hard to time, but all of them did a pretty good job of getting themselves, if not perfectly in line, very, very close to in line. When they were swinging back, they weren't waiting around, right? It would be very easy to get out onto that ledge and be waiting for it to lower back down to where you need it, but they all seemed to time it pretty well so that it would be where they needed it to be. But let's move on to the last run of the night, because that's the one that was absolutely fantastic and showed me why this guy gets so much love and why he was run number 100. Morimoto takes the course, and he made that second transition that both Drew and Tomo weren't able to, not to mention all the stuff before it that the other 8 finishers struggled with on stage 3. He's hanging there, and he starts chalking his hands. I was absolutely floored watching this guy hanging on the cliffhanger, chalking his hands up before taking on the vertical. I'm like, are you kidding me? How much freaking upper body strength does he have?
This guy's next level. Hype is real, y'all. And I at first when you watch it, you're like, that's really cool, but is he wearing himself out? I actually think that was ingenious. When you look at when I think back to the few people that actually were able to try the vertical limit, you see that they are slipping almost immediately holding onto that thing because they're literally holding by their fingertips. If you have the strength to do it, go back, dip your hand in that chalk bag and get as much traction as possible in your fingers before taking on that vertical limit. And we saw it actually worked. I believe he got further into that vertical limit than any competitor ever has. And it was so cool, so ingenious. I really like his approach. And this cliffhanger is raising and lowering. And he's holding on, and he is staying perfectly calm. The weight transition going on this while it's moving is putting that much more pressure on his hand, and he's holding on with one hand in two different transitions. I mean, this was really cool of the guy, and just once again, why Yusuke is just so good, so revered, and I would kill to see this guy go against the very top competitors in ANW. Please bring this guy back to ANW versus the world. Oh, I need it.
Yeah, so just, I don't know if you can picture that for those that didn't watch it. Just imagine someone hanging onto the ledge on stage 3 as it raised and lowered, and they have a chalk bag, like you know how they chalk their hands before they take stage 3. Imagine it's hanging from their back, and they hang on by one hand, chalk their hands from behind, before moving on to another obstacle with no rest. Like, it's absolutely the craziest thing I've ever seen. I was so on board for that. Thought it was fantastic. Can't say enough about it. A great way to end the episode. A fantastic attempt. But we didn't get to see anyone attempt stage 4 this year.
Yeah, he got fairly far into vertical limit, but I mean, his arms just had to give out at a certain point, you know. He can only be so inhuman to a point.
Yeah.
But it was a great attempt, and in many ways, it just brings back... I'm kind of happy because in many ways, he cemented himself like, hey, you know, it's cute Drew got further a few times and everything, but I'm Yusuke Morimoto. I'm the dude that last completed the entire course. And... don't forget, y'all, I'm at the top of this game. So it was just really cool to cement himself again as the person that's got the furthest.
So that is it for this episode. I apologize. It is
Long episode.
So crazy long. But if you'd like to reach out to me, you can reach me as rich@ninjapodcast.com. I am at Ninja Podcast on both Instagram and Twitter. And Bijan, how can they reach you?
Twitter and Instagram at Bijan151. That is Bijan 151 is where you can send all of the corrections of how much Rich and I are wrong and all that fun stuff. If you are even going to attempt to tell me that Pikachu girl is not annoying, shame on you. This is a pre-shame bell for you. And don't ever need to hear her again. Deuces. She's awful. Shame.
All right. Thank you all for listening, and I hope you have a fantastic week.
Could you imagine being married to her? Oh, that poor man.
Do you want me to just skip ABCZ? ABCZ?
Did you just say... Zed, get out of here.